Okay, welcome everybody to Talking with Talamantes and Titus. This is a bi-weekly town hall conducted via Zoom where our student government leadership can share current happenings and events around campus. I'm Chief of Staff Hannah Rhymes, and I'm joined by President Riley Talamantes and Vice President Courtney Titus, as well as Director Santosh Madhihanam and Director Titus, as well as some representatives from the College Panhellenic Council. And they're going to be updating you on some ASUTA programs and partners, what they do, and how you can interact with them. They're also going to give you some updates on some financial wellness activities. And we're also going to go over some general communications and reports, and then leave some time at the end for an open forum. If you have any questions, you can send your questions in the chat on the Zoom link, or you can unmute yourself at the end of the session during the open forum and ask there, or you can leave comments on the Facebook live stream. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the folks from UMC.
Great, thank you so much for that, Hannah. I'm one of the co-chairs for the United Multicultural Council, or UMC as we're referred to. So if I could get the next slide, please. So what is UMC? To begin, UMC is a program of ASUW. And what that means is that we are supported by ASUW in terms of budget, but also in terms of overall goals and working with the student government as an extension, but also with our own separate kind of more tailored agenda. So the mission statement of the Multicultural Council is the purpose of the United Multicultural Council is to support and enhance diversity, equity, and inclusion at the University of Wyoming through community building, social justice driven programming, and advocacy for marginalized students at the individual and institutional level. So basically what all of that means is that UMC at its heart is here to serve marginalized students, both as a way for them to get more involved with the student government, but also as a way for them to get more involved with diversity related initiatives on campus in general. And then our three core values are that we are radical, representative, and respectful, which I think basically speaks for itself at that point. So what does UMC do? So these are just a couple things that UMC does. It is really shaped a lot by the co-chairs, but in general, UMC in a general year hosts monthly roundtables to foster discussion about diversity-related issues on campus. Those roundtables are attended by students, faculty, and staff across the campus while we talk about issues that are most important to our marginalized students. We also assist student organizations with diversity-related missions in event planning and organizing. So for example, we've collaborated with the Black Student Alliance, MECHA. We've also worked with Spectrum. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we also worked with Spectrum. So some of those different student organizations to plan events such as the Diversity Ball or other dances. And also some more serious events such as things related to Black History Month, where professors and other students come together to talk about more serious issues. We also represent marginalized students on UW committees. We basically go where we're invited, but some of those committees that we serve on more regularly are the Martin Luther King Jr. Days of Dialogue Planning Committee, the Shepherd Symposium Planning Committee, and the Council for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion through the Office for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And then, of course, we do plan our own UMC events. So I think the most famous one that most students know or have attended is the UMC Drag Show, which happens in the spring. That image there is from the drag show from 2019. We also host the Diversity Ball as a part of the Martin Luther King Jr. Days of Dialogue. And then we've collaborated with the Shepherd Symposium and then statewide GSAs to hold a GSA dance for high schoolers as a part of the Shepherd Symposium week of events as well. So after all of that, how can you as like a regular student get involved with UMC if you're interested? So the first thing that I would suggest is definitely attend UMC roundtables and events. That's the best way for you to kind of get to know what UMC does on a more firsthand level, and for us to get to know you and just look for you around and really grow some of those relationships. You can also attend events and programming through Multicultural Affairs, which is a great program that often collaborates with the Slice office. They hold a lot of things like the Students of Color circles and lunches when school's in session, and they do a lot of other great things. So you can usually find someone from UMC at those events. And then you can support diversity related legislation in ASUW. So the ASUW Senate meetings do have an open forum period, and in the beginning of the meetings, you can always go to open forum and voice your support as a student for any kind of diversity related legislation that might be going forward there. And then finally, we are currently hiring 2 UMC co-chairs for spring 2021. Both myself and our other co-chair are stepping down as we're graduating pretty soon. So we're hoping to get some new, fresh people with great new ideas, especially related to how we can support UMC and keep it going throughout these kind of changing times, as we all know. So that is a paid position. It's paid $8.50 an hour for 10 hours a week. And if you'd like to know anything more about that, feel free to email me or the UMC at UWYO email address, and we can answer any of those questions. The application closes on November 1st at 9 a.m. So I would encourage everyone to apply. The great part about being a UMC co-chair is you really get to tailor UMC to what you most want to accomplish. And so because of that, you can have so much experience in different areas that will all be really, really helpful as a co-chair. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me or reach out. I'll try to figure out a way to leave an email. I forgot to put it on here. But thank you. That's all I have, basically.
All right, thank you for all of that wonderful information about UMC. We're now going to turn it over to the folks from the Panhellenic Council who are going to tell you a little bit about what CPH is and how you can get involved.
Hi, yes, I am Jamie Romano, and I am the CPH VP of Programming. And Lily is the ASUW liaison. She'll be talking later on. If you want to go on to the next slide for me, please. So what is CPH in short? It's our community of the 6 sororities here on campus: Alpha Phi, Chi Omega, Delta Delta Delta, Kappa Kappa Gamma, Phi Gamma Rho, and Sigma Alpha. And the sorority community is governed by the College Panhellenic Council. It's composed of 10 women on the exec board, like me and Lily. And the council's responsibility is to uphold the agreed upon standards and values to help out our community and the experience that we have throughout different programs, education, collaborations, and incentives. So just different things like that. I mean, I can speak more on the programming side of things if you guys want me to later on. But we do whatever we can to kind of help our community to just kind of come together and just like know that we are all under like one university. And since we are like a smaller community compared to other campuses, it's just a fun way to get involved. And if you want to go on to the next one for Lily.
Yeah, so our Panhellenic Council, which, like Jamie said, is 10 elected women, along with 2 delegates from each of the 6 sororities. We provide all of the members across all of our sororities with opportunities for leadership, scholarship, university involvement, network support, and friendship. So really just a lot of things. We're really just here to support everyone across the board in a multitude of areas. In addition to our weekly meetings on Monday, we also host lots of events throughout the year, like formal recruitment, Greek Week. We do a lot of community service events, as well as philanthropy and educational events. And our council's main goal is to promote positive growth within the FSL community, the University of Wyoming, and the city of Laramie. So really what that means is that we strive to help our women achieve lots of things, and we strive to help our communities across the board have lots of positive growth. You can move on to the next slide.
And then just ways that people can get involved with Panhellenic is first off, you can go off to our website with FSL, and that has all the different events that we always have going on during the semesters and the year, like throughout the different chapters, and just FSL as like a whole. Like we did FSL trivia night the other night, and that was super fun. So just like different fun things like that. And we also have different social media pages that you can go to. So Facebook and our Instagram. And yeah, I don't really know what else we could add on to that. I've pretty much covered everything.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that information. I'm going to turn it over to myself, and I'm going to share some information about one of our ACW programs called Associated Students Technical Services, also called ASTEC for short. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide for me. So some folks may ask, like, what even is ASTEC? I've never heard of that. Well, chances are if you've attended an event on campus before COVID hit, you've probably seen ASTEC in action several times. ASTEC provides audio, lighting, and visual technologies for UIO events, and has provided services for stuff like banquets, small and large scale concerts, lectures, conferences, weekly student org meetings, dances, and various entertainment events. Aztec serves UW students, student organizations, UW departments, and their affiliates. If you would mind going to the next slide for me. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, what can Aztec offer my event? Well, to start with the basics, they can offer audio systems, and this can be anything from small, medium, and large public address systems. For instance, if you have an event that has a couple of guest speakers and you just need to plug an iPhone in and play some music, or maybe you're hosting a band or several bands and you want to have a small, medium, or large concert system, which is able to adapt to the performer's needs and your crowd size. Aztec can also offer lighting systems, and this can range from basic stuff like stage washes and spotlights. Again, that's good for presenters, or advanced stage lighting, which is more dynamic lighting systems for dances and variety shows. And then finally, Aztec can also help you with projections, which is great, again, for either presentations or for visual effects. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. So how can you book services? Well, after submitting your event application on UW Connect, you can fill out the Aztec request form, and that office does ask that you fill out that form no later than 2 weeks before your event, but the earlier the better. And this just gives a chance for the Aztec coordinator and the technicians to assess the needs of your event, sit down with you and make sure you don't need to customize or tailor anything, and then figure out all the other details like the day of show schedule. Now, for UW students and student organizations, services are completely free as long as the event is not ticketed and takes place on campus. And if I can go to the last slide. Now, due to COVID-19 impacting gathering, how many people can attend a gathering or what spaces are available for use, due to some of those restrictions, Aztec is currently only offering services to student organizations and departmental groups who are within CECL. So that is ASUW, SLICE, etc. And additionally, for the remainder of fall 2020, Aztec is only staffing events that take place on campus, so Wyoming Union, Prexy's Pasture, or in the Simpsons Plaza. And again, if you are a student or part of a student organization, if your event takes place on campus, which it has to due to the restrictions, and as long as it's not ticketed, your services are free. If you have any questions about what services you can book or have questions about tailoring custom offerings for your event, you can go to uyo.edu/Aztec and you can get some more information and contact the coordinator. And I believe that's all I have. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about financial wellness programs. So I'm going to turn it over to Director Madhya Hanum, who's going to talk a little bit about what financial wellness events we've got going on.
Hello, everyone. My name is Santosh Madhyanam, and I'm the Director of Financial Planning and Analysis for ACUW. So you might wonder what financial wellness is. So what we do is basically host events that promote financial literacy for all students at UW. So you might have just come off your parents' budget or just be using their cards, and now you're in this brand new university and you have no idea what to do with your finances. So we help you not go broke in your first month in college. So we help you create a budget, work on all of your other finances, try to find out ways you can improve your credit score. So pretty much anything financial related. So for this semester, we have 3 very interesting events coming up. Our first event is the budgeting workshop, which will be held on the 20th of October from 4:15 to 5. Here, like I said earlier, we'll be teaching you how to stick to a budget and how you can spend money more efficiently. So this will be over Zoom. You can scan the QR code on here, or you can also go to our social media, and the Zoom link is over there as well. This is, in fact, co-sponsored by Univaya Federal Credit Union and the Wellness Center here at UW. Could you go to the next slide? So other upcoming events are the Scavenger Hunt and the Spooky Financial Awareness Week. So for the scavenger hunt, we are asking everyone to download Goose Chase and look for the financial wellness titled game, for lack of a better word for it. We'll be having about 6 missions a week and it'll go on for the rest of the semester. It's going to start on the 19th of October. And basically, as soon as you finish your missions, you'll get points awarded to you. And the more missions you do, the more points you can get. Everything is closely related to finances. And we do have a couple of fun missions as well. The more points you earn, the better your chances are to win the grand prize. We have a first, second, and third place prize, and also we do random giveaways every week. For Spooky Financial Awareness Week, we're planning on being at the Washy Green and just asking a few financial wellness questions. If you answer all of them right, you win a cash prize or a gift card. Otherwise, you win a small Halloween snack or a chocolate. We'll be also partnering up with RLDS and we are hoping to send out prizes to each of the floors as well. And that is all I have for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for telling us about that financial wellness programming. And folks, be sure to keep an eye on the ASUW social media account so that you can keep track of when those events are happening. We're now going to change gears and hear some reports and communications. We're going to start with President Talamantes.
Thanks, Hannah. So on the next slide, I'm just going to be going over some COVID-19 updates. I'm sure you've kind of noticed within your emails that there's been a bit of some tweaks and changes in the surveillance testing program. And so normally students who would be on campus, they would get tested weekly for the surveillance testing. Well, starting this week and next week, throughout the rest of the semester, students who are on campus, whether that be through employment or for in-person classes, they will be taking a test twice a week. So students will be getting tested more frequently. Since they're on campus, I'm pretty sure they just wanted to make sure that we're surveying the virus and making sure that students are staying safe and that we know what is happening with some of the COVID cases happening in the area. And so I think the largest change to this particular program is the compliance piece. So if you are a student who does not comply with the testing, maybe you forgot to show up to one of your tests, you didn't want to test, maybe you were out of town, you will be given a red pass through the COVID Pass app and an email letting you know that you need to start complying and taking your test so that you can come back onto campus. Students who do not comply will not be allowed on campus, and it'll be shown through that COVID Pass. And so the COVID Pass can kind of be a key to get into certain spaces on campus. If you want to get a reservation at Half Acre, you have to show COVID Pass. If you want to go into some of your in-person classes, making sure that you have agreed on the COVID Pass is important. Even professors will be having something in their YL courses indicating which students in their classes have a green pass to come to campus. So that compliance piece is very necessary in making sure that you all have a successful semester. And so I think there are some questions that are kind of arising from this, because I think it can be kind of scary if, you know, say you are going to be visiting your family for a week, you've quarantined before then, but you're going to be missing out on the testings. There's definitely some accommodations that people can make for you. So in this particular slide right here, I've just put it down some of the testing resources. There is a page housed within the human resources page that provides a bunch of different links that students can go to if they're experiencing some issues. So for instance, if you had to pick up an extra shift at work and you need to reschedule a test, there's definitely a very quick and easy way that you can do that on this page. You can also request a test exemption, for instance, if you're going to be out of town or you have a reason not to test. And then, if you're a student who has gotten that notification, but you are not in Laramie, you can go ahead and also click on that to identify as an 100% online student who has no intention on coming to campus so that you can be opted out of that program. And then there's also an additional tab that just isolates some testing accommodations. And the student link is also very specific as well for how those accommodations can work. But I think those are some of the largest changes that are happening within the surveillance testing program. Again, if you all have any questions and concerns, feel free to raise them or just shoot me an email and, I'd be happy to direct you to the right information.
Thank you so much for those updates, Riley. We're now going to turn things over to Vice President Titus, who is going to give us some legislation updates.
Hey everyone, my name is Courtney. I'm also the ASW Vice President. So just an overview of some of the legislation that we've been passing through the AHW Senate. We have been pretty busy this year, although everything is virtual. We're all on Zoom. We are still here. We're still working for you. So we've passed a couple legislative and policy changes. The ones that pretty much were just cleaning up grammatical errors and things like that. I didn't really offer any descriptions on those, but we did make some pretty substantive changes to our elections policy. We actually removed the role of the elections commissioner. We put those responsibilities onto the elections committee, the judicial council, and the ASW advisor. We were really reflected on running our first all online election this past election cycle, which was quite the experience. And just the fact that our voter turnout, despite being all virtual, was pretty on par with our usual in-person voting turnout, which is unfortunate. So we're hoping that these policy changes can really empower the elections committee and other branches of AHW to do more outreach, get more voter turnout to AHW elections, and to better serve candidates and make those sanctions processes a bit more clear and more accessible. And we also created the AHW Tuition Allocation and Student Fee Review Standing Committee, because I needed longer committee names, I guess, when I made this one up. But this committee is actually a really, really instrumental and important part of AHW. This committee will serve as a mechanism to voice students' opinions on the fees and tuition that we pay. So within the next month, we're going to be hearing from all of the units that collect student fees, and we're going to be hearing proposals from them on whether or not they are requesting an increase. They have to justify the funds that they currently are using. If they were asking for a decrease, which have never happened, and I doubt it will. But those are all really important opportunities for students at large like you to get involved in the AHW legislative process, because we culminate all those recommendations into one resolution that we pass, and then we give that to the Board of Trustees. And that recommendation is taken into heavily consideration by the Board of Trustees when they are approving these fee increases or fee continuations. So we have received a lot of feedback this year at AHW from you all about concerns with tuition increases and student fee increases. So I highly encourage you to get involved on this committee and join some of these student fee hearings, and if nothing else, attend the Senate meeting that we'll be having in the beginning of November, where we'll be debating our recommendations to the Board of Trustees. The more student feedback and input we have to show the Board of Trustees administration, the more powerful those recommendations are. So I do just want to emphasize that. And then we did just have some more policy edits that pretty much were just cleaning up grammar and outdated language. So on the Senate side of things, although we are still meeting regularly, it is understandably a difficult year for a lot of our senators. We've had quite a few resignations, and thus we have a lot of vacancies. We have 2 vacancies in the College of Ed, 1 in the College of Engineering, 1 in Hobb, and then 1 in SER. So you do have to have a minimum GPA of 2.0. There are some other credit hour requirements that you have to meet. Basically, you have to be a sophomore. You have to have at least 30 credit hours done at UW. So if you're a transfer student, you might need to wait to your junior year. But I wanted to give you all some reasons to join AHW. It's obviously a leadership opportunity. There is so many facets of AHW. So if you're interested in event planning, you can get involved in that. If you're interested in policy stuff, you can get involved in that. We have so many different committees and branches, programs, and partners that you can get involved in. You can pretty much find something that's up your alley no matter what. It's a great place to make campus and peer connections. It's a great networking opportunity. As a senator, basically you have the right to request meetings with deans, other important people in administration, and get face time with those people. Obviously, it's a really good way to get involved on campus, especially in these COVID times when involvement opportunities are sometimes few and far between. AHW is still as active as ever. We're still working on projects. We're still meeting and chatting with each other and trying to stay social and connected. So it's a good way to get involved that way. Obviously, you get a chance to learn about UW, learn about higher education, learn about policy, advocate for wellness, anything that you're passionate about. It's a way to advocate that. And like I mentioned with the student fees, it's a place to voice your opinion. So whether that's with student fees and tuition on a certain diversity policy or a certain project, something that AHW needs to tackle, it's a place where you can voice those opinions. Some things that have actually started out in AHW that are well used and well loved by students include the construction and maintenance of Half Acre. The outdoor program was a program of AHW. Safe Ride was also a program of AHW. The cost-free menstrual products in the union and classroom building were from AHW. So there's lots of very cool things that can get started in AHW. So I encourage you all to join and connect with us and work with us to get your projects off the ground. And if you want the application, you can go to that very long link, or you can just email me at ahwvp@uwyo.edu.
Thank you so much for that, Courtney. We're now going to shift gears and move into the open forum part of this episode. And it looks like I've already got quite a few great questions in the chat. Once again, if you're in the Zoom room, you can submit questions via chat or voice, or if you're watching the Facebook live stream, just leave a comment on the post. So our first question is actually for Katie from UMC. And the question is any experience required to apply to be a co-chair?
That's a great question. And I mean, I guess to be that politician, the answer is yes and no. So yes, in the way that we want you to have a good understanding of kind of what the important diversity related issues on campus are. And we want you to have a good understanding about some of the resources that are available to you. So like demonstrations that might even just be that you've attended some UMC roundtables, or you've gone to some of the students of color forums through multicultural affairs. So experience like that, that just shows to us that you are like that you have attempted to be involved, or you have a good understanding of what the issues are on campus. That's definitely experience we're going to look for. As for more traditional experience or more professional experience, no. So you don't need to have worked in diversity related job positions. You don't even need to have been super involved with ASU Dub, or even like serving on committees or things like that. You can really be kind of a fresh face on campus in this work if that is something that, and if you can show that you're really passionate about the things that are important to our campus. So hopefully that answers your question. But if you have more to that, I would love to get an email from you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Our next question is actually for Santosh about financial wellness events. And the question is, you mentioned winning cash prizes. How do you go about winning cash prizes in those financial wellness events?
So you would have to use Goose Chase to win cash prizes. We are executing all of our prizes through Goose Chase. So once you have Goose Chase downloaded, we'll have different missions. So one of our missions for next week, which I'm giving it away right now, is the budgeting workshop. So all you have to do is click a picture of you of the budgeting workshop, which we streamed live on our Facebook, and you could also attend the Zoom meeting. So all you would have to do is take a picture of that and submit that to Goose Chase. And once you do that, I think that's close to like 400 points that you can get just off of that. So once you keep gaining points, the 3 people who do have the most points will win the cash prizes. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Santosh. I have a question for the folks from the College Panhellenic Council. Let me find that question really quick. All right, so the question is, I heard recruitment usually happens in the fall. If I still want to join a chapter, how can I do that?
I can answer that one. So this year is a little bit different because COVID. So we did have fall recruitment, and that finished up, I believe it was like mid-September, but we are doing COB now, so that is continuous bidding. And just the meaning behind that is that each chapter is kind of doing their own thing about how they want to keep getting members for the rest of the semester, and they can do that until they hit a number, like their top number. I believe it's like 82 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but then they have to stop doing COB at that point. So if a member is interested in joining a specific sorority or doesn't know, I would suggest for them to reach out to any of the houses currently and kind of see like what their values are and what their philanthropy is for and all that kind of stuff, and kind of see what would be best for you and what's the best fit for you, and go through COB with them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that information. I do have one more question, so this is a last call. If you have any questions to submit, drop them on the Facebook post or in the chat. And this last question is for both Riley and Courtney. And the question is, how does ASUW advocate for student needs?
Yeah, I can go ahead and then I think Courtney can jump in because I think we can do that in a lot of different ways. If you do have any kind of concern or student need that you want to be known on campus, you can always email Courtney and I, schedule a time either over Zoom or come in during our office hours and we can always talk about it. Sometimes there is some information that we do get from some of the meetings that we're in, or just being a part of ASUW for a while so that we could be able to help solve your problem. There's also a feedback form available on the ASUW link tree, as well as our website too. So if you go into our Facebook or Instagram and click on the link in the bio, you can submit a form that kind of addresses your concerns there. But I think we can do that in a myriad of ways. As I'm sure Courtney has explained in various Talking in Talamantes and Titus episodes, we have various ASUW standing committees that all kind of deal with various things. So we have ones about programming and institutional development, advocacy, diversity and policy, budget and planning, basically a bunch of different things that if you go to any one of those committees, kind of introduce yourself, voice some of those concerns. That's kind of a way that you can be able to connect with your senators, see what those committees are up to, and ultimately be able to voice your opinion within ASUW. And if that student need that you have identified is one that a lot of senators, even execs within ASUW, have kind of noticed that you're not the only student talking about that need, that's definitely the time when we'll kind of sit down, do some research into how we could fulfill that need, help support that particular need that's happening on campus, and even potentially write legislation that's either a resolution in support of that particular need, or a piece of legislation that kind of resolves that. But I think that's just a little overview of various ways that we can be able to attend to student concerns that can prove very some legitimacy to student affairs and other folks within the university administration.
Yeah, Riley, I think you pretty much covered it all, but I would also just emphasize that ASUW is set up largely like our local and federal government. And whether or not that system has worked out great for some of us or not, you still have elected senators that are supposed to be representing you. So I do encourage students to reach out to their senators, reach out directly to Riley and myself and let us know what's going on. To be honest, in a year like this year, it's been incredibly difficult for us to stay connected with the student body. So when we receive student concerns, we take those very seriously. For example, about a month ago or so, we received some student concerns just with the pause and students being without pay during the pause. So we sort of take those concerns up the chain of command through the legislative branch. We wrote a resolution, and currently now we're meeting with members of the UW administration, VPs, and other higher ups to sort of figure out what we can do to protect students and support them if a pause were to ever happen again, or just to make sure that student employees can maintain that income that they're relying on. So that's just one example of how sort of what will happen if you reach out to us with some concerns and how we will advocate for them. So that was a great question. Thank you.
All right, it appears that we have no more questions remaining, so that's going to bring this episode to a close. I want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us for this installment of Talking with Talamantes and Titus. We hope you'll join us for our next episode on October 29th. And just as a reminder, ASUW is working for you and with you, and that's where we're so excited to continue sharing updates and staying transparent with the student body. We hope to see you all next time, and go Pokes.